Hi friends, welcome everyone to Smart Engineering Academy. Myself Amit. So I'm starting a new lecture series on reinforced cement concrete. Okay, so in the previous lecture series I had already completed strength of materials, in which I had completed how to draw the shear force and bending moment in strength of materials, and I had also completed geotechnical engineering, and also I had completed structural analysis topic completely, which will be useful for competitive examinations. And also many previously asked question paper has been solved. Please go through all the lecture series, which will be very much important for your competitive examination. Okay, fine. So I'm starting a reinforced cement concrete. Before this, in the previous lecture series, in the strength of material, we have studied a shear force, how to draw the shear force, how to draw the bending moment, and also some of the basics with respect to the structures. Then in case of structural analysis, we have studied structural analysis 1 and as well as structural analysis 2, in which we have analyzed a indeterminate structure. By analyzing the indeterminate structure, we have obtained the values of what is the amount of shear force, what is the amount of moment that is acting upon the structure. By taking the values of structural analysis, we are going to design the structure, which will be the final page. The designing of the structure is being done in the reinforced cement concrete topic. So why I am telling you is that subjects are interrelated. Like in the strength of material, structural analysis is most interrelated with the reinforced cement concrete topics, because analysis of the structure is done in structural analysis topic, and by making use of the analyzed values which was obtained in structural analysis, we are inputting it to the reinforced cement concrete and we are going to design the structure. That is what. So first of all, reinforced cement concrete. What is reinforced cement concrete? There comes a two words into the account. One is reinforcement and other one is cement concrete. So what is reinforcement? Reinforcement is nothing but, like, you are going to provide the steel with the grades Fe415, Fe500, Fe515. These are the reinforcements which we are going to provide with respect to the structure. And what is cement concrete? Cement concrete is a combination of coarse aggregate plus fine aggregate plus binding material. Binding material is nothing but cement. The combination of these two things, that is the combination of iron or steel and the combination of cement concrete, will become the reinforced cement concrete. So why this combination is very important? Here comes a question, why this combination is very important. One is the reinforcement is nothing but, in case of reinforcement, we are going to provide the steel, where steel is good at tension, good at taking tension, but in case of compression it is very poor. But in case of cement concrete, concrete is going to take more amount of compressive loads, where it is good at compression, and in case of tension it is not going to carry any kind of tensile loads. It is poor at tension. Steel is good at tension, poor at compression. Here it is good at compression, poor at tension. So there will be a matchified between these two things. If these two things are sandwiched, then the lifetime of the structure increases. You are going to get a very good framed, very good rigid structure. So this combination is very much important. This combination is being used in the everyday practical life. That is what the reinforced cement concrete is. This is the basic introduction of the topic. Let me move on to the contents. These are some of the contents. Please go through the contents, in which we are going to study with respect to shear, torsion, compression and everything. Fine. In the first topic, I am going to start a limit state method of fundamental. Okay, limit state design method. There comes a two methods. One is limit state method and other one is working stress method. Working stress method was used before. Okay, at present today's condition, they are using limit state design method, which is very important. So First of all, what is limit state design method? It is a condition just before the failure. Okay, it is a condition just before the failure. That is, if I am taking a lifetime of the structure is 75 years. So for this, I am going to assume the condition in which it is a condition just before the failure. For the failure criteria, what would be the condition? Up to that condition is called as limit state. Throughout the lifetime of the structure, if I take 75 years as the lifetime of the structure, it should possess same strength. Up to the 75 years, it should possess same strength as well as same serviceability or same service for old 75 years. And the limit state method is a method in which it is a condition just before the failure of the condition. That is, just before the failure happens after the 75 years. Before the 75 years, what we are doing, we are designing with respect to limit state method, and it should possess up to the 75 years the design life, it should possess the same strength as well as same serviceability. Fine. Before that, I'd like to add some more points here. One is limit state of collapse and one is limit state of serviceability. What are the things which comes under limit state of collapse and what are all the things which comes under limit state of serviceability? First of all, limit state of collapse. Collapse is nothing but failure. Okay, limit state up to the collapse, we are considering some four conditions. One is flexure. What do you mean by flexure? Flexure is nothing but bending. Bending normally happens in beams. Is it fine? If I take beam like this, the bending is going to take place like this to an to an depth delta. Normally it takes in case of beams. Second one, shear. For the same diagram, if a load P is acting over the beam, if I am drawing a shear force for this, it comes somewhat like this. This is how the beam is subjected to the shear. Because of the vertical load acting upon the beam, it is subjected to the shear force. It is subjected to shear. So normally shear will act in case of beams. Is it fine? Third one is compression. Compression is normally taken by the columns. Okay, so if I take a structure like this, you are going to provide a column and the load is coming. The load which is coming, the compressive load, normally from the structure is taken out by the columns itself. That is what, with respect to limit state of collapse, these are the conditions which is going to come. And fourth one is torsion. Torsion is nothing but a twisting moment. You can see the twisting moment, it is going to twist. Normally the torsion will take place in case of L beams. Later it takes in case of end beams. At the beam end, if I take a beam end, there will be a torsional moment will be present at the end of the beams, and in case of ends of the slabs also there will be a lifting of the things. So that is the reason we are going to supposed to provide torsional reinforcement in case of slabs. Okay, so now let me come to the contents. See, in the contents you can see all these things with respect to limit state of collapse. We are going to study it in very detail in the upcoming lecture series. You can see the shear at this unit limit state. With respect to limit state of collapse, we are going to study the shear, and here we are going to study the torsion, we are going to study the compression and flexure. Everything will be covered in the upcoming lecture series. This is just an introduction and basics that you need to remember. So just remember all these 4 points, which is very important. Sometimes in MCQs they are going to ask which are all the things which comes under limit state of collapse. They will give some 4 options, so you need to remember all these 4 things. Then one is limit state of collapse and other one is limit state of serviceability. That is how much amount of service that a structure is going to provide will be the limit state of serviceability. Serviceability. See, before that there are 2 things. One is limit state method and other one is working stress method. The difference between these 2 methods, I am going to upload the difference between these 2 methods in the next lecture series. Don't get confused, but let us follow limit state method, because this is the updated method, and everywhere it is using. Normally in the competitive examination they are going to ask the question on limit state method. Fine. So under limit state of serviceability, there comes at 3 points. One is deflection, second one is cracking. You can see the cracking in case of in the structure, either it may be longitudinal or vertical transverse cracking. Cracking also leads to the serviceability of the structure. If the crack appears in the more, the lifetime of the serviceability of the structure decreases, like that. If the deflection is more in case of structure, the lifetime of the structure, that is service which is provided by the structure, will be decreased. And third one is vibration. Normally vibrations we can see in the bridges. Normally when the vehicles are moving, you might have felt in the general days condition, moreover in the bridges there will be a vibration that you can see, but there will be a minute vibrations in the multi-storied buildings as well. So these are the three things with respect to limit state of serviceability. Fine, these are the basics with respect to limit state method. Let me move on to the next concept, that is design load. What is design load? First of all, that is, design load is nothing but, let me take one structure like this. Okay, fine. Let me take a structure like this, and there is a loads, designed loads which is coming. Let it be 10 kilonewton, one is 20 and other one is 30 kilonewton. So the total amount of load which is coming upon this structure is how much? Like some 50 kilonewton of load is coming upon this structure. Okay. According to the limit state design, the design load for the various limit states are obtained as a product of characteristic load and the partial factor of safety. That is, partial safety factors has to be multiplied. Okay, this is gamma f is the partial factor of safety. It has to be multiplied with the characteristic load in order to get the design load. The reason why we have to multiply with the partial safety factor is because, suppose we are assuming the total amount of load which is coming upon the structure is 50 kilonewton. Okay, that is the assumed load, which is nothing but, let me take it as 50 kilonewton load as a as a characteristic load that is coming upon the structure. But this is not true, since there is let me assume the total life of the structure is 75 years up to the total serviceability condition. There is a chances that the load may get increased. Okay, because of that, for the safety purpose, what we are going to do, this the design load I am going to increase, that is by multiplying it with factor of safety. Let me take the factor of safety is 1.5. By multiplying with this, I am going to increase the design load. Okay, so that is what I am going to design load. One is F is the characteristic load, gamma F is the partial safety factors appropriate to the nature of the loading and the limit state. Okay, we cannot blindly assume, like blindly stick on to the load which we have calculated, that is the amount of load which is coming. Just for the safety purposes, we are going to multiply it with the partial safety factor. Okay, let me come to the one more concept here. Let me draw a graph like this. If I am drawing a graph like this, this would be, let me take this as FM, which is nothing but a average load. FM is a average load, and let me take the value of, so up to here, let me shade it like this, and the remaining portion I am shading in the yellow region. Okay, I am just taking the value of K from up to here to here. The value of K is equal to 1.65, which is standard, and this is 95% chance. This is 5% chance. Okay, that is what this means. See, characteristic load, I am assuming, see in the same characteristic load, what I am assuming is 50 kilonewton. Okay, the characteristic load which I had assumed, which I have taken here, is equal to 50 kilonewton load. This is just an assumption, this is just a example value. According to this, with respect to the graph, they are telling the load which has a 95% probability. This load has a 95% probability of not being exceeding in the lifetime of the structure. That is, if I am taking the lifetime of the structure is 75 years, according to this condition, there is a 95% probability that up to the lifetime of the structure, the design load which is not going to exceed the 50 kilonewton load. But there is a 5% chance, there is a 5% chance that due to which the load may exceed, which is more than 50 kilonewton. 95%, of course, it is not going to get increased, but there is a 5% chance where it is going to get increased. That is the reason why we are increasing the load, that is by multiplying with the factor of safety. Okay, so this is what you need to remember. This is the concept. Let me take one example with respect to this concept. So according to the steady condition, they have got the characteristic load. The characteristic loads, what is the total amount of characteristics load they have got is 40, 43, 52, 50 and 94. All the unit for is unit is kilonewton per meter. Note, as per the code, minimum 30 samples are required for the characteristic values. Okay, just I am assuming taking this, but as per the code IS 456, how many samples is required? Minimum 30 samples is required. This is a specification. Just for the calculation purpose, I am going to take some 5 values. Okay, so in this I need to calculate the value of F, which is a characteristic load. How to take the characteristic load, where F is equal to Fm plus K into S. So what is the value of Fm? Fm is nothing but the average load, the total average of all loads. So how many loads have been given in the question, which is equal to 40 plus 43 plus 52 plus 50 plus 94. Total the average load is divided by 5, which comes to be 57 kilonewton per meter is the value of Fm. So what is the value of K? The value of K is 1.65. That is the value of K with respect to 95% probability chance, which is equal to 1.65. And what is S? S is nothing but standard deviation. How will you find the standard deviation? Standard deviation will be equal to root of summation of F initial minus Fm divided by n minus 1 its whole square. According to that, standard deviation will be equal to, what is the F initial? F initial is how much? Initial F is, that is 57. 57 minus the first value is how much? This is 40. 57 minus 40 its whole square divided by total number of loads. How much they have given? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Total number of loads is 5 minus 1. Is it fine? Again, plus overall, just I'm sorry, it is 5 minus 1. Next, plus of F initial is again 57. The second value is how much? 43. Minus 43 its whole square. Like that, follow the procedure. The standard deviation value you are supposed to get it as how much? 21.7 kilonewton per meter square. Then after that you need to calculate the characteristic load, where F is equal to 57 plus 1.65 plus what is the value of standard deviation, which is equal to 21.7. So the total characteristic load is 92.7 kilonewton per meter is the value of characteristic load. So according to this, there is a 95% chances the load is not going to exceed, but 5% chance that load is going to exceed in such a way that after obtaining the value of characteristic load, in order to find the value of design load is equal to characteristic load into partial safety factor. Okay, this is what the design load. Please remember this. Sometimes in the examination they will ask you to calculate the load. Okay, when many loads are given, you need to take the average in order to find the value of FM. Fine, in order to find the value of characteristic loads. Yeah, I told you one more thing. In case of RCC, the specifications are very important. Many of the questions in the examination will be asked on the specifications. Specifications are taken from codebook IS 456. Okay, so all the I'm going to sum up all the specifications, which is very important. I'm going to add with respect to the every unit. So this is the specification. Okay, please make a note of these specifications. This is the specification with respect to partial safety factor for loads, where you are going to take the value of partial safety factor, which is equal to gamma F. It has to be taken from this chart, which is space specification with respect to the load combination. Sometimes in the questions they will give the load combination, either dead load plus live load, dead load plus wind load, dead load plus live load plus wind load. If this is the combination, dead load plus live load, in the limit state of collapse, what is the load combination? 1.5 plus 1.5, which is equal to 3. In case of this, it becomes 2. Like that, with respect to the load combination, you need to take the value of gamma F. That is, one is with respect to limit state of collapse, and one more thing is with respect to limit state of serviceability. Okay, this is what. The next concept comes here is design strength. One more thing I had forgot. See, this is upper bound theorem. Design loads is upper bound theorem. I'll tell you why it is called as upper bound theorem and why it is called as upper bound theorem. And in case of strength, it is called as lower bound theorem. The design strength of the material FD is given by FD is equal to design strength. FD is equal to F, characteristic strength of the material, divided by gamma M, which is equal to partial safety factor. Since it is been divided with respect to the partial safety factor, it is called as lower bound theorem, whereas in case of design load, it is upper bound theorem. Why it is became lower bound theorem? That is because it is a very simple concept in which the strength below which not more than 5% test result is expected to fall. See, that is in case of the loads which is coming upon the structure, but here before constructing a structure, we are going to do the test, we are going to take the test results. Okay, see, the taken test results should not fall. Okay, it should not fall. That is the reason you are going to increase it. That is the reason we are going to divide it by the partial safety factor. That is the difference between the design load and design strength. Design load is the upper bound theorem, where the characteristic load is multiplied the partial safety factor, whereas in case it is a lower bound theorem where the partial safety factor is being divided to the characteristic strength. In that design load, you are not supposed to the load should not increase. Okay, the load is not supposed to increase in the upcoming days, in the upcoming lifetime of the structure. But here, the test results which was obtained before the construction of the structure, it should not fall. Okay, in case of load, the load should not increase. In case of strength, strength of the material should not fall. Load should not increase. That is nothing but it should not increase, and in case of strength, it should not decrease. So it is called as upper bound theorem and strength is called as lower bound theorem, where in case of design loads, the characteristic load is multiplied with the partial safety factor. In case of strength, the characteristic load is multiplied by the partial safety factor. This is the two difference that you need to remember. Most of the MCQs will be asked with respect to this. Fine. So what is the value of partial safety factors? Gamma m. Partial safety factor gamma m for the material for limit state of serviceability, limit state of collapse. The value of gamma m for steel is 1.15 and the concrete is 1.5. In case of limit state of serviceability, steel is 1 and concrete is 1. This is again a specification. This thing you need to remember in order to obtain the values of gamma f. Most of the times, as I have seen in the KPSC examination and also Indian Engineering Service examination, this chart is been asked directly. The question will be like this: what is the partial safety factor gamma m for a material strength in limit state of collapse for concrete, or in limit state of serviceability for a steel? Like that, there comes a 4 kinds of questions can be framed with respect to this. Okay, this is one thing. This is partial safety factor for loads, and this is partial safety factor for strength. That is the difference between these two things. Design load and design load and design strength are very important. Upper bound and lower bound. Don't get confused. Please thoroughly clear your concepts here, so that the upcoming RCC lecture series will be very much easy to you. So that's all, guys. The remaining concepts I am going to take in the upcoming next lecture series. Thank you one and all. I am going to share all the PDF. I'm going to share all the PDF in my Telegram group. Please join my Telegram group, which is given in the description below. Anything, please do comment in the comment section. Your comments makes me motivated to come up with a more number of lecture series. Thank you and all. Bye bye.